right, welcome in everyone to another Johnny Torch live broadcast. Broadcast number 280 and Torch News Roundup number 307. All right. Well, as usual, there's always excitement at the end of July because we have the San Diego Comic-Con, which always provides fodder for our fandoms. And this year is no different. I don't think it's quite as spectacular as it has been in recent years. I mean, there hasn't been too many new things announced. DC kind of, I don't want to say drop the ball, but you would think they could put something together for Man of Tomorrow. I think they've got some filming done. I mean, they might have been able to put a little teaser out, maybe a little something like that. But they're largely silent. And Marvel, again, kind of also downplayed a lot of the stuff coming out, mostly focusing on Doomsday, of course, coming out at the end of the year. We're starting a little bit later. Just for a heads up, I've got some Wi-Fi issues going on here. I hope the broadcast doesn't get interrupted. I hope it doesn't end unceremoniously. So everybody, if you're watching this live, keep your fingers crossed. All right, so yeah, we're going to take a look at most of the San Diego Comic-Con stuff. Before we do that, of course, however, we have the prerequisite Bullets Bourbon pitch, The Adventures of Bullets Bourbon Private Eye. Now, I've got some exciting new panels to announce here. I dropped the first one on Twitter a couple of days ago. I've been saying I'm going to show some panels from the new book. And we're chugging along pretty nicely. You know, we've got probably still a ways to go yet, but I'm hoping we can get this done probably in another month or so. And of course, the first panel that we dropped on Twitter, this is a panel that displays Scotch on your right, Veronica in the center, and of course, Bullets Bourbon on the left. Bullets has been poisoned in the previous issue, the one that's still available right now, the first issue of the Against All Odds arc, by the villainous General Diesel. And General Diesel seeks a powerful diamond that will give him the power, not only physically, but also the power to cripple the entire Stark City population. Now, of course, his plans are far greater than that. He wants to take over the world, but he has to start small. And he's starting in Stark City. Of course, Bullets Bourbon being the guardian of Stark City, he's going to come up against him. And I was saying on Twitter that it's almost a shame that you really can't get the tenor of dialogue, the rhythm of the dialogue across in a static image, because this was actually supposed to be a slightly humorous panel, and I don't think anybody's really going to accept it for that by just looking at the dialogue. But it was supposed to be sort of like a rat-a-tat, you know, back and forth between these characters speaking almost at the same time, and you know, being somewhat comical. I said that the inspiration was sort of from Temple of Doom in the Spike Cave, how you have Willie and Short Round flipping out, and Indy is sort of like just saying shut up because they're all talking at the same time and sort of getting on his nerves. That's kind of like what's happening here with Scotch. All right, now they're bracing for General Diesel to arrive because apparently he found them. And the next panel that we're going to release here is General Diesel does come in. And if you've seen some of the black and white images I released of the issue, he does kind of manhandle them. That's one of the things that's difficult about doing a second part of a 3-part arc, is trying to have some action and not resolving the story. The second issues for me are always sort of a pot boiler. I much prefer sort of the interactions between the characters, and you know, then we get to the action. You know, we start off with a little action in the first act, and then we have the big action showdown in the last act. In this case, Bullets is poisoned, and he is completely unmatched against General Diesel, and the General sort of just manhandles him. And that's why you see him on the ground there after attempting to fight him, and apparently it didn't go so well. Bullets needs that antidote, and it's up to his friends Joe and Chubby to try to effect a cure with Dr. Stewart. Of course, here we have Cecil sort of taking Veronica prisoner, and he's like the trademark lackey. You know what I mean? He's always trying to get on his good side, General Diesel. He's always sort of kissing up to him and trying to, he's like a puppy dog wanting to get pat on the head. And that's kind of the way General Diesel treats him. And he's like always trying to prove his worth. And of course, the diamond is somewhere in this room, but who has it? That's the question. Who actually stole it? And you're going to have to read that in the upcoming issue once it comes out to find out. And of course, one more panel here. The sort of menacing invitation by General Diesel here. This was kind of fun to play with because General Diesel, like I've said before, is like the biggest meanie of Bullets Bourbon's enemies. I mean, I was looking forward to having a villain that was going to torture Bullets Bourbon, and that's what caused him to have this radiation poisoning, but also the like menace towards Veronica. Because when you look at the other villains in the Bullets Bourbon rogues gallery, basically, Carrot Top, his interest is solely in power. I mean, he's sort of like, he's like the emperor. I mean, he just wants as much power, unlimited power as he can get. And he is not particularly looking for a romantic interest. He's more wanting to grab as much power as he can get. And that's the turn on for him. Pencil Neck is just mad as a March hare. I mean, he could probably be madly in love with a roast beef sandwich if he chose to be. And, he's a different kind of character in that way where, real emotion is meaningless to him. It means something different to him every day, and it would never really translate into something serious. But with General Diesel, I mean, he really sees mankind as basically just playthings, people that are there for his amusement. And we sort of play that up with Veronica, that he just sees her as a means to amuse himself. And again, that's this kind of character. It's really fun to play a real mean baddie that has no redeeming qualities whatsoever. I mean, I try to make Carrot Top kind of endearing, try to make Pencil Neck kind of endearing. They're, ruthless killers and so forth, but you kind of enjoy watching them. But this is a villain that he's hissable. That's what I tried to do with him. He's a hissable villain. He's a guy that you want to see get smacked in the mouth. You know what I mean? He's got it coming, and you just hope Bullets Bourbon can get it together and finally give him what is due. So again, I'm looking forward to getting this one out as soon as possible. It shouldn't be much longer. Until then, you can check out the link in the description below. You can order Bullets Bourbon comics from Indie Planet from my website. You can check out my Twitter page. You could always give me a DM there. My DMs are open. If you want a autographed copy, I'll find a way to make that happen. And Global Comics, it's still up there if you want a digital download, or if you prefer to read it. I guess if you're a member of Global Comics. Haven't had really a lot of luck there on Global Comics, but I am actively exploring new avenues to get the book out there. I think I'm finally going to try some new things. I mean, I tried Global Comics. I don't know if it really gave me the return I was looking for. So anybody has any advice, anything that you think would get the message out on Bullets Bourbon a little more widely in the public square, as it is, the internet public square, let me know in the comments below. And of course, before we move on, please like, share, and subscribe. We lost a subscriber. Which one of you cowards out there unsubscribed. I'm really mad. I'm angry. Well, I wouldn't say angry, but disappointed. Let's put it that way. Just disappointed. Yeah, we don't want any of that. We don't want any more of that. All right, so if you like what we do, I try to bring you guys a show every weekend, Saturday or Sunday, sometimes in the middle of the week, sometimes Monday. If you like the show, hit like, share, and subscribe. If you appreciate what I'm doing as an indie comic creator, please try to pick up one of the books or all of the books, preferably. And, you can keep this channel going. You can keep the dream alive for Bullets Bourbon Comics. You can make sure that I'll be able to keep doing what I'm doing, and you'll have my eternal gratitude. That's for you out there. All right, so let us continue on. And we have, before we get started in the Comic-Con stuff, I got another mailbag segment. Honestly, this was from last week. I just didn't get a chance to read it. I misplaced the note. I've got it back. So I always read all my comments. This was a comment on one of my Supergirl shorts from the Supergirl review. Of course, that's the thing to do nowadays to make shorts. Actually, it's gotten a lot more attention to the channel. I usually get at least one new subscriber every time I put out a batch of shorts. It's a pretty successful way to get eyes on the channel. Although, like I said, this time I lost a sub, and maybe this was the reason why. A viewer named Mob Morgan 2 wrote about my comment on Superman in Man of Steel in comparison to Supergirl, the movie, the most recent movie. I guess I got to say it that way now because there's two of them out there. I was pointing out, just for context, how Superman had no other option other than kill Zod, and he couldn't have done anything. He just had to kill Zod, otherwise that family would have been killed. And Supergirl pretty much did the same thing. It's like she had no other recourse but to kill Krem of the Yellow Hills or whatever. And because it was a short, this guy or woman didn't know that I was being sarcastic. And they said, no, Superman had plenty of bleeping options. Cover Zod's eyes, fly him up, stand in front of him using super speed, use your bleeping frost breath. We now know you have because of his bleep Snyder cut of Justice League. Well, again, I was just being sarcastic. In a short, you really can't tell when I was saying he had no other recourse than to kill Zod. Obviously, he did, and that's the reason why I'm always, I don't want to say throwing down Man of Steel. It's one of the reasons why I throw down Man of Steel. It's not the only reason. And if you watch that review of Supergirl, you'll hear several of the reasons. But much like Man of Steel, Supergirl let me down in that respect. It didn't really live up to the mantle of the hero as I knew that they could be. I mean, Superman is much better than that. We look up to Superman to do the right thing, to make the hard choice, to make the right decision. And Supergirl should be the same way. And again, I really don't want to bash Supergirl as much as I do Man of Steel, because I feel like what they were trying to do would probably make sense if they actually had done a good job with that idea that Kara's broken and needs to be. This movie didn't really address that enough and make that something that made the arc pay off. You basically have her preaching that she's not, that the girl, I can't remember what's her name, Ruthie, that the girl is not supposed to kill and is not supposed to seek vengeance, and it's not going to help you, and it's going to taint your life. And then she ends up killing the villain. Again, this movie just did not pay off any of the themes of redemption and coming through grief and so on and so forth. It didn't really work. And again, that's just the way I felt about it. Now, we do have, coming up at the end of the week, Spider-Man Brand New Day. So I'm thinking next week's video I'm not sure when I'm going to be able to get to it, but we're going to be reviewing Spider-Man Brand New Day. I'm looking forward to it. I'm not actually reviewing the new trailer. I've seen the new trailer. It's the only thing that I remember from it, because it's one of those flashback trailers where it's like, all right, we're showing, I don't know, everything from Civil War, I guess, up to Brand New Day, and but the only thing that was really of any note to me was seeing the Hulk. Now, you know I'm a big Hulk fan. If you know anything about me, you know that the Hulk is my favorite character, and he's been given the rawest of raw deals in the MCU, partly because of the Universal deal that, they can't really do anything solo with the Hulk because his distribution rights are tied up with Universal, and Disney don't want to play ball with them and give them a percentage of the gross or whatever. But seeing a Savage Hulk out and hearing the Savage Hulk speak, which I think, barring a few, you know, terse lines in The Incredible Hulk, the only time he ever spoke was really in Thor Ragnarok, which is really the only reason why I value that movie probably more highly than most people, is because it did give us a decent view of the Savage Hulk. And with I forget the line with Brand New Day. He says something like no banner, only Hulk. That's straight out of a 70s Hulk comic. That's the Hulk I was raised on. That's the Hulk I grew up to love. And we're finally seeing him again, finally, in Brand New Day. And Spider-Man, of course, a traditional, a classic team up there. It's like a Marvel team up with Spider-Man and Hulk, and then you've got Punisher, potentially more characters. Again, I don't want to get too deep in this because the movie will be out pretty soon. I honestly try to stay away from spoilers and things like that. I mean, in this internet age, if you're going to be on Twitter or whatever like I am, you're going to get spoiled, but I try to stay away from some of these things and just try to enjoy them, which apparently nobody really does nowadays. Everybody wants to be spoiled. Everybody wants to have the whole thing ruined on them. I don't know. I honestly don't know why. I'll probably get into my ranting about fandom a little more as we continue on. Before we get to San Diego Comic-Con stuff, something else I wanted to talk about last time that I didn't really have time for again, which I'm going to go over an hour again if I keep up at this pace. But I saw the trailer, and I love the trailer for I Play Rocky. This is the new movie coming out at the end of the year, I think November. With Sylvester Stallone's story on how he sold the story of Rocky and how difficult it was for him to secure the role as the lead actor in the film. Now, this story, it's kind of a story of legend in, film, but I think it resonates with any creative person. They allegedly threw all kinds of money at Stallone just to take the screenplay because they knew he wrote a great screenplay for Rocky. They wanted to give it to, Robert Redford or whoever was big at the time. And he refused, no matter how much money they threw at him, 100,000, 200,000. I don't remember how far it got up to, 750,000, just to take a pay cut, just to take a paycheck, step aside and let somebody else play Rocky. But he wrote Rocky basically for himself to play it. And that's an inspiration for us all, that he wanted to go out swinging. Like, if I'm only ever going to get one shot at playing a lead actor, because this is like a little different from, like, a lot of people would be like, well, he just came in off the street. Well, Stallone did have an acting career. I mean, he had bit parts in certain things, and he wasn't like a complete total unknown, and he wasn't just coming in off the street. But nobody was going to assign him as a starring actor, in a big role, in a big movie that was expected to do well. And so he made that opportunity for himself, and he held on to it when most people would have took the bait and just said, all right, look, I got bills to pay. I got to sell it and just be happy that I've got my name attached to something that's going to be successful. But Stallone didn't do that. He held to his guns. He said, look, I Play Rocky, which is the name of the movie. And he took that chance the way Rocky did. And that's what that whole movie was about, was his life story, you know, transplanted to a Philadelphia boxer. But it was his story about taking a chance and believing in yourself and going the distance. Now, before we go on to the next subject here, let me just say the actor here is just got a fantastic imitation here of Stallone, or at least Stallone as Rocky. It makes it feel very familiar because he sounds and looks very much like Stallone did in Rocky. The actor's name is Anthony Ippolito, I believe. Now, I'm sure I'm going to get hate mail again for this, for not pronouncing this guy's name right. Like I'm supposed to be some kind of a linguist or something that knows how to pronounce all these names. But Anthony Ippolito, I believe. Fantastic job done here. Also starring Stephen James as Carl Weathers, of course, who played Apollo Creed. Matt Dillon as Frank Stallone Sr., and Anna Sophia Robb as Sasha Shizik. I don't know, but that was Stallone's wife at the time. So, yeah, coming out November 13th in the US, as they say. And so I'm looking forward to this one. And yeah, hopefully this is going to be a good one, because it really feels like it resonates with Stallone and the Rocky story. All right, so next up, the big news, the big, really big news. All right, let's talk first about the DC side of things. We've got the Lanterns trailer. Now, this is where I'm going to have my rant, because honestly, this is the trailer they should have started with. This is how you lead if you want to have people excited about your project. Not what they led with, which was a completely drab and colorless, unexciting, uneventful, looking like it could be any other TV show version of Lanterns. Now, I don't have any notes for this, because this was like a last minute thing, but I don't know who this actor is, but they've showed us the actor who's going to play Sinestro. I don't know if he has a very big part to play in this, but he looks phenomenal. He looks like Sinestro. And I thought for sure they were never going to use the Space Hitler version of Sinestro. With the way that they've had everything, you know, sort of set up for this show, that it was going to be grounded and it wasn't going to really have anything to do with space and this and that, I thought he was going to wear a cowboy hat and have a blonde beard and wear a denim jacket and jeans. You know, I had no idea they were actually going to do this. So this made me very happy. And you would think this would make a lot of people very happy. But what do I always say? Fandom, they never happy. They're never happy. And a lot of people started complaining and comparing this to the Mark Strong version from the Green Lantern movie. When did that come out? I can't remember. 2013 or something. And yes, Mark Strong was great, and he was fantastic in that role. But what is so wrong here? He looks like Sinestro. I mean, we all pretty much knew they weren't going to bring Mark Strong back. And what is it? He's not a bright enough hot pink for you? I mean, what is the complaints here? I don't get it. I frankly don't get it. But again, fandom has gotten to the point where they will complain about everything. And I honestly am not sure why that is. I always go back to, I think the woke era broke people's brains. I think a lot of people got so addicted to being angry. They are making an Ironheart TV show, which utterly failed, and they dropped it in the middle of, they dropped the whole show at one time in the middle of a dull period and ratings or whatever. You know, they're making, you know, all these things that we don't want to see, like Shuri and Black Panther 2, and you know, we don't want to see Jane Foster Thor. And yeah, we went through all this period where things were looking pretty bleak. Things were kind of grim. I understand that. But that wasn't meant for you to have an axe to grind for the rest of your natural life when it comes to superhero projects, when they are giving you what looks like an accurate translation from the comic. Now, again, I don't want to toot this show's horn too much. I've gone from completely uninterested to mildly interested. mildly curious. I mean, I probably won't get HBO Max just to get this. If it gets good enough buzz, maybe I will. But honestly, it does look like they're trying when they've showed, you know, Hal doing some constructs. They've got the one of the real fun things was hearing the lantern oath finally. Um, Kyle Chandler, I believe, is the actor playing Hal, doing the lantern oath in the trailer. But again, a lot of complaints are like not really. The, the costume is not a construct, not a ring construct. In the Silver Age, Hal wore the costume under his clothes like every other superhero. It wasn't, a thing until like what, the 70s. I mean, sure, is that something to complain about? But it's like we complain about everything these days, everything. One of the things that concerned me the most was at the panel and Comic-Con, they announced that Laura Linney, who, as I said, Laura Linney is gorgeous. I had a crush on her in the 90s when she first came out. So, I mean, again, this is nothing against her. I'm quite happy to see that she finally made her way into some kind of comic book project. But she's going to be playing one of the Guardians of the Universe, one of the little blue guys. If you've seen the Green Lantern movie, you probably know what I'm talking about. Uh, I I I don't like that idea. I just want little short blue guys to be the Guardians of the Universe, like the comic. I don't need them to stunt cast. I don't need them to change things. And again, you get the sense that she's supposed to be a mentor to Jon Stewart. And you get the sense this is going to be like a real nauseatingly moralizing character that's going to tell Hal to step down and step away from his role as a Green Lantern and let John take over because it's his turn now and this and that. I hope I'm wrong. That was a red flag for me though, seeing the trailer. I have to admit. Um, I, for the most part, it looks good though. The action was good. Again, I'm not crazy about the F bombs. It's like they're trying way too hard to try to get F bombs in this thing. I'm in the backyard with my little nephew, and it's like the first line is "What the f," and I'm like, we don't really need that. You could have said "What the heck," "What the hell," even I don't know, but you have to use an f bomb. Why? Just to make sure kids can't watch it? I don't know. I mean, kids probably ain't gonna be able to watch this anyway for other reasons, but and the villains are revealed as the Manhunters. Now, again, I will be honest in saying my understanding of Green Lantern is limited. He was not a book that I honestly read a lot as a kid. I had 2 or 3 issues. Didn't really do a whole lot for me, but in fairness, maybe in the early 80s when I was 4 or 5 years old, I don't think the Green Lantern comics were really all that compelling right around then. So, I mean, later years, the Jeff Johns, Ethan Van Sciver era, I'm pretty sure is what people really latched on to for Green Lantern. So, I mean, maybe I should check some of that out. I do have nowadays. I mean, I've got a large Silver Age collection. Honestly, I've got like a couple of volumes from the 50s, early 60s of Green Lantern, which again, it's fun, sort of for its time reading. But again, nothing that really stuck with me. So I don't really have a real feeling for the lore. Um, so in that case, I'm not really going to be as probably pedantic as everybody else is with, oh, the costume has to be a construct. What are they doing? Well, I don't know. I read Silver Age stuff. He wears the costume under his clothes. I mean, that's not a deal breaker for me. Sinestro looks like Sinestro to me. Again, I don't really like this big competition between John and well, I just had a thought while I was saying that. The Manhunters, they say in this trailer that they can look like anybody. What if Laura Linney actually isn't one of those blue little guardian guys? Maybe she's a Manhunter. That could be something. It sort of just came to me. But as I was saying, I'm not sure about this big rivalry between John and Hal. I'm hoping, again, if this works out right, I'm hoping that maybe that's going to be sort of a Red Lantern influence on them, something like that. Because I know the Red Lanterns are sort of rage manifested, where will and the power of will gives the Green Lantern his power, sort of the power of rage gives the Red Lantern his power. Again, there's a lot of ways this could actually end up being pretty good. I'm not sure that it will be. Still, I'm still skeptical. But again, I feel like the stock has risen for lanterns, and I think a lot of people on Twitter are feeling it too. That this could be pretty good potentially. It could be pretty good, and of course, you got Nathan Fillion reprising the role of Guy Gardner, which I don't know. It could be a surprise hit, and I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, if it is. Like I said, my hope, honestly, from the beginning was always that this was going to be like Arrow season one. Arrow season one, they downplayed the code names. They called him the Hood instead of Green Arrow, and they even had a joke. Oh, he should be called the Green Arrow. Oh, what a terrible name. Oliver wore like smudge makeup on his face instead of a mask because, we can't possibly have a masked man on television. So again, with all this stuff, it was just to get the foot in the door for people to say, this looks interesting. It's a grown up show. And that's what they're trying to do here, I think. And I think if the show is a success and they can like spin it off into multiple seasons, which I guess is what they're intending on doing, they'll bring in more fantastical stuff. They'll, bring us to space at least more frequently than they've been doing from these trailers. It looks like it's just a Midwestern show. But again, we'll have to see. We'll have to see how that turns out. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Does this sound like something optimistic for the Lanterns trailer? I mean, is the Lanterns show actually possibly going to be pretty good? Does this trailer suggest that? We've seen some constructs. We've seen that Hal is using the ring. We see that they're at least trying to be somewhat faithful to the look of these characters, Sinestro and so forth. Let me know what you think in the comments below. All right, so with that out of the way, let's take a look at some of the Comic-Con stuff that we said we were going to look at. The introduction for Black Panther 3. This kind of came out of nowhere. Nobody knew that this was going to be a thing. We have a new Black Panther, David Johnson. Again, I heard this guy's name spoken. I really don't know how to pronounce it. Johnson. It's Johnson with an extra S. He's the new Black Panther. Ryan Coogler was announcing the new Black Panther. He's going to be T'Challa Jr., as we've seen in the end of Wakanda Forever. Black Panther, T'Challa, and Nakia had a child. And this was, how long ago was that movie out? Only like 5 years ago. But they're apparently going to age him up into a grown man, an adult. I don't know exactly how this happens. I mean, are they going to say maybe this was also like during the blip, or is this going to happen? I mean, I think this is only happening, honestly, the Black Panther 3 is only happening because they want to give Ryan Coogler his trilogy. They want to say, look, we gave Black Panther 3 movies. We give Ryan Coogler 3 movies. He'll be the first Black director who has taken 3 superhero movies through to completion, even though each film starred a different actor as Black Panther, which was, of course, it's sad because it was the unforeseen death of Chadwick Boseman, who was fantastic in that role, which is why I really had no interest in Black Panther 2. I didn't see it at the movies. I mean, if depending on what they do with Black Panther 3, I might see this in the movies, depending on, like, for instance, the big baddie in Wakanda Forever was Namor. And nobody really liked Namor and what they did with Namor. And, if you give me someone really exciting to see, as the villain, or, if you're going to cross over with some other characters, like I think they crossed over with, where they have Ironheart, again, there was nothing really to look forward to in Wakanda Forever. But, I'm holding out judgment here on this, that this might be something. The character's name was Toussaint, who is basically T'Challa Jr. And let's see. Kevin Feige explained to Empire, saying, I'll give you the real scoop. We hadn't started a search yet. Ryan was working on Sinners, and when Ryan works on a project, he's all in. So the presumption very much was we would sit with him after Sinners came out, after the Academy campaign. We were waiting till after the Academy Awards to sit with Ryan and begin that process. A month and a half or so before that process, he called me and said, I found him. I said, what do you mean? He goes, I found him. He's this guy, David Johnson. He mentioned his movies. I'd seen some of them. I watched more. He goes, I'm going to meet him. He had a secret meeting with him under cloak of darkness in a hotel room somewhere, and called me afterwards and said, he's the guy. He's the guy. I felt it. I felt it in my soul. He's a good man, and he is the next Black Panther. And I got chills, and I got a little welled up and said, let's do it. So we've been sitting on the secret for a good 5 or 6 months. So that is about it. I mean, what do you think? I honestly think that they're going to sweep a lot of this, pre-Secret Wars stuff out the door. Now, I said I think Secret Wars is probably going to get pushed back. I don't really see how they're going to get to Avengers movies in back-to-back years. I mean, it's possible, and I could be wrong, but I kind of feel like Secret Wars is going to get pushed back. This is going to end up being sort of the end of that era, and it's going to be a soft reboot. I know I've heard rumors to the effect that Feige is saying is not going to be a reboot, and it's true. It's not going to be a reboot because what already happened is going to have happened. It's not like we're going to pretend that this is a new universe. Everybody else that existed didn't exist before this. But what's going to happen is that we're going to sort of get a new Captain America, a new, Iron Man, a new Thor. I think that's still going to be in the cards because they've tried the replacement scenario and that hasn't worked. Nobody wanted Sam Wilson Captain America. Nobody wanted Jane Foster Thor. Nobody wanted Shuri Black Panther. And they're willing to take the mantle off of Shuri. And you know why? Because, Shuri, the actress, much like Evangeline Lilly, were very anti-vax back in the day, and that was sort of like a no-no. You couldn't say that. And so they're just keeping her around sort of for the connective tissue. As far as the Wasp is concerned, they're not even saying what happened to her. They're just like ignoring that she even should be in Doomsday, which she should. But again, I really don't know where this is all going. I would imagine that this is just going to be sort of the end of that portion of the MCU, and we're going to move on to other things. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Let me know what you think in the comments below about Black Panther 3. All right, and also in the news, one of the more exciting things that we heard about was Ghost Rider is finally getting a big budget movie, a reboot, of course, because Nicolas Cage starred in the original 2 Ghost Rider movies for Sony. I actually really enjoyed the Nicolas Cage Ghost Rider movies. Again, I know even less about Ghost Rider in the comics than I know about Green Lantern. I mean, Green Lantern is a A-list hero, so I know about him. Ghost Rider, I would have to admit that he's like a C-lister. I don't think too many people know him other than what he looks like. If you say Ghost Rider, they're going to say, yeah, the skull head with the flames and he rides a motorcycle. So, that's kind of a C-lister. I don't know. Maybe he's a B-lister. I would say maybe he's about as well known as like Doctor Strange, and Doctor Strange is probably more of a B-lister. C-lister is more, I don't know, Shang-Chi. I don't know. Who else would be a C-lister? Maybe Captain Marvel. To the general public, of course, I'm talking about. But anyway, Ryan Gosling was announced as the new Ghost Rider. Now, they didn't say if he was Johnny Blaze. This is what was kind of interesting about that. I don't have a lot of copy here for this either, but Sean Levy was also announced as the director. Of course, Sean Levy directed Deadpool and Wolverine, and he is just finishing up directing Star Wars Starfighter, which also, of course, starred Ryan Gosling. I don't know. Some people are saying there might be a Midnight Suns movie, which is a team up of some of the already introduced characters from the comic run, such as Werewolf by Night, who had a one shot or whatever Man Thing. Who else was in that? I'm not sure, but apparently not. They're going to start with Ghost Rider now. Of course, a lot of people, went mildly ballistic as they're wont to do, which was about Blade hasn't gotten any movement for forever, right? There hasn't been any movement on Blade in I don't know how long. And I honestly don't know why. I mean, I don't really care. I mean, honestly, I'm not a big Blade fan. So I mean, it really doesn't mean a lot to me, but I think the problem is when you're trying to do a Blade movie, you're honestly doing a vampire movie. And how many of those are out? I mean, we already had 3 Blade movies. What else is there to say with Blade? The only thing you could really do is, like I said before, my solution would be stick him in a Spider-Man movie, stick him in some kind of I don't know what other hero he would work well with. Stick him as a sidekick and then spin him off into something else. Maybe Ghost Rider, I don't know. But maybe you have to reconcile to the fact that you're either going to go down the same path with Blade or you're going to be completely different. Now, I think that's kind of like what the problem they have with certain, that's why the Spider-Man, they spun him off into like a completely different way. No more Uncle Ben being mentioned. Aunt May was a different kind of way. The supporting cast is completely different. And I have a feeling they want to do that with Blade. They want to make him new so he doesn't feel like he's, the Wesley Snipes version take 2, but there has to be a way to do it where you can sort of break it open and find a different avenue. And I think that's what's taking so long with Blade. But again, I'm pretty sure, seeing as how Gosling looks more like Johnny Blaze, I think he's going to be playing Johnny Blaze. And again, like I said, I don't know a lot about the Ghost Rider comics. I had 1 or 2 when I was a kid. Always captivated by the look of that character, though. He just looks awesome. Skull, flaming skull, leather, riding a motorcycle. It's just awesome. So I really think they could do something with this if they try. Hopefully, it's going to turn out as good as the original Nicolas Cage Ghost Rider, because I really like that. And the Spirit of Vengeance film wasn't bad either. I mean, it was a different take. It was it was kind of a little bit more darker, which is kind of what these things turn out to be when they do a sequel. They try to go a little darker, and that was fine. I enjoyed them both. So let me know what you think in the comments below. Are you looking forward to the Ryan Gosling Ghost Rider? And I don't really have a date for this either. I guess this is going to be out. That doesn't say when. No, here it is. 2028. So yeah, they've got a couple of projects that they're lining up for 2028. I mean, it looks like it's going to be a packed schedule for a lot of these things. And who knows? I mean, there might be more stuff announced. More stuff is in the works, supposedly. And last but not least here, just for a quick recap, they did a, well, they wouldn't say a panel, but they did like a sort of a curtain call for the actors for Doomsday, Avengers Doomsday. Haley Atwell was officially recognized as being in the movie, which, again, that's not really a shocker, seeing as how, she's married to Steve. Steve is going to be in the movie, and they have a kid together. Apparently, the kid is probably going to have something to do with the movie. So not really a shocker there with that information. It was revealed that this is the Doom from the Fantastic Four universe, the Fantastic Four First Steps universe. this is their doom. So this Reed and this Doom do have a relationship, a past relationship, which again, a lot of people complained about this. I kind of had a feeling that they were going to tie this Doom to this Reed and, wasn't going to be just like out of left field. But again, people complain about everything. And then what gets me the most is that when they're proven wrong, like in this case, it's just a minor complaint that, oh, this is not, you can't have Doom without his connections to Reed. Okay, well, they proved you wrong. Yeah. Now we've got the connection with Doom and Reed. Are you any more excited about this movie? No, because everybody's always doom and gloom. No pun intended. Everybody always sees everything as, well, this is going to be, there's not going to be enough time for these characters. Well, how do you know? I mean, I said on Twitter that I think, they gave James Marsden, his Cyclops, a featured image on the poster. I mean, that pretty much tells you that he's going to have a significant role in the film. I mean, I don't know time-wise. I don't know if he's going to be in 2 hours of a 2.5-hour movie or whatever it is, 2 hour and 45-minute movie. But he's going to be in it. He is not going to die in the first scene. I don't know who's like starting that rumor, but I'm pretty sure he is going to have somewhat of a substantial role. And if he does get killed off, well, I don't know. But I mean, a lot of people are like building up this stuff from the rumor mill. Why do you go to the rumor mill for to try to get stuff to get aggravated about? You don't know if that's true. Again, some of this stuff could be true, but I remember reading, because at the time I didn't care. I mean, I still don't care, but Rise of Skywalker. I remember reading reams and reams of type and information about the Rise of Skywalker script and how this was going to happen and that was going to happen. And I want to say at least 97% of it was completely false, completely fake, and had nothing to do with the actual movie. Now, I'm not looking at rumor mill stuff because I really want to enjoy this film. I know that's a novelty. I want to go into a film sort of not knowing what to expect and hoping it's going to surprise me in good ways. I mean, again, I totally leave the opportunity open that this film could disappoint me. I mean, after Infinity War, which admittedly by, pretty much everybody's standards was really good, I didn't like Endgame. And so, I mean, this is the possibility of a dud, that it might not reach our lofty expectations. But I mean, I'm giving it every opportunity and trying to troll the rumor mill and the leak mill and the leaked visual effects mill and this and that. You're setting yourself up for disappointment. I mean, a lot of this stuff probably isn't going to be true. And the stuff that is true might not be what you think is. I mean, some of the stuff that's true, you're like, wow, that sounds a little far-fetched. You never know. That might be the true part. So again, I don't know why folks can never be happy in this day and age. I think, honestly, it's a vocal minority. I think the people that complain the most do it just to get attention. I mean, that's the way the usual suspects are. I mean, they need it for the grift. They need everything to be terrible because that's what gets the clicks. That's what gets them put in your feed. It's, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. That's been true in life, and it's true on the internet. You're not going to get people that cheer something and they're happy for something getting a lot of attention, because it's easier to be the squeaky wheel. It's easier to be the one saying, oh, this is terrible. Oh, this is going to be awful. Oh, the sky is falling. The sky is falling. And we have a lot of Chicken Littles out there. Now, again, in some cases, it's warranted that you say, well, I saw Supergirl. I didn't think it looked like it was going to be very good. It turned out not to be very good, but I still went into it giving it every opportunity to be good. I didn't beat the drum relentlessly for 2 years ahead of time saying it was going to be awful. I said, this doesn't look like it's going to appeal to my personal taste for Supergirl. Come to find out it didn't. Now, it could have surprised me. It could have disappointed me. It turned out to be the latter. And it's the same thing here. Now, I mean, in this case, a lot of this stuff looks really cool. who wouldn't be excited about seeing, all these beloved characters back on the big screen? And a lot of people are, well, they're going to kill off this one, they're going to kill off that one. Well, you know what? How many times do they kill off these characters before? And yet here we are. So if they do kill these characters off, honestly, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to me, at least, because I know as easy as it was to kill off Professor X 17 times and then bring him back in this movie, it's going to be just as easy to bring him back the 18th time after they kill him in this movie. Honestly, if that's what they do. And, there's never a guarantee that we need to see these characters again. I mean, I know it's a sad thing to face, but at some point, these characters are going to move on. I mean, at some point, Sean Connery isn't going to come back to Bond. I mean, they got him back after the Lazenby one, and then they got him back again in a non-official Bond film, Never Say Never Again. So, I mean, these things happen. You can get the other actor back again once in a while, and you say, oh, gee, that's great, we've seen him again. It's not necessary. You know what I mean? I've always been a huge proponent of you need to recast your roles. The actor is not greater than the character. And again, that was always true of Bond. That's true of superheroes in general, because it's the costume, it's the mask, it's the person that they're playing, not the actor that's realizing the role. And of course, I'm saying this knowing full well there's a lot of great actors in the MCU. Chris Evans, Robert Downey Jr., a lot of these guys are so associated with the role, it's going to be tough to walk away from them. Hugh Jackman is still holding on to that role, and I love it. I want to see him as Wolverine again in this movie. Tobey Maguire. But there is going to come a time when, you have to just stick with the, and of course the multiverse softens the blow. So again, I fully expect Robert Downey Jr. to suit up as Iron Man in Secret War. I just feel like that's what's going to happen, because when you do these kind of comic things, there's always the opportunity to bring back the old actors for a multiverse crossover. And that's never going to get old. You're never going to completely stop that, because you can pull them out of time anytime you want. And there's all kinds of excuses, magic and time travel, and it never really has to be the end. So again, that doesn't even bother me anymore. I think people are just too damn precious when it comes to this actor can't be replaced, or I don't want to see these characters die, or it's like, that's the magic. That's the beauty of comics. It's the same thing with Robert Downey Jr. Oh, they're stunt casting with Doctor Doom. It should be Mads Mikkelsen. Well, Mads Mikkelsen already played a character in the MCU, so it was never going to be him. You have to remember, did you ever see Doctor Strange? Yeah, he's in that movie. You're not going to see him again in the MCU. And, stunt casting. I mean, one of the greatest, actors in the MCU playing a different role. And again, it's born from the comics, straight comics, where you have anything can happen. Anything is possible. And it's not like this is going to be the last time we ever see Doctor Doom. I'm sure we're going to see Doctor Doom again many times in live action. And it's not going to be Robert Downey Jr. So let's enjoy while it is. But it's like the fandom has become grumpy uncles. Now, I'm a cool uncle. I'm not a grumpy uncle. I don't complain about everything. In my day, it was always better because, well, yeah, you know what? It was always better back in the day, because back in the day, we had Christopher Reeve as Superman. Now, do I think we're ever going to reach that height again? No. And I don't cry that there's never going to be a Superman that tops Christopher Reeve for me. Because as long as we get close enough, I'll be happy. Now, we weren't close enough for 30 years. And we got David Cornsweet, who I felt was at least 75% the Superman that Christopher Reeve was. Now, with those odds, I'll take it. I'm not going to sit there and cry about every single casting when they have to recast these characters, because God love Christopher Reeve, but he's not going to be Superman anymore. And it's the same thing with a lot of these actors. You can't be precious about them. You can't be a grumpy uncle. You have to be able to understand that the times change. And again, we have actually had a pretty good run in the MCU of casting. It's not like, with cases like Superman or whatever, where it's like we had to wait a long time to find another good Superman. I mean, in the case of Marvel, they pretty much have casted pretty well all along, up until like the woke years, of course, and we didn't really want to see that, but that was more of a replacement theology, and not that they were replacing the actors, but replacing the characters. So, I mean, we haven't even really seen what they can do. I mean, you think there's not going to be another actor as good as Chris Evans as Captain America? You don't really know that, actually. We don't really know that there can't be another Iron Man actor out there. There very well could be that will be just as popular once he's given a chance. And again, Scarlett Johansson. I mean, I think she's the only one that is really done with the MCU. I mean, they had like some talk about in an interview. I think Chris Evans said that the Russos basically wanted him to play the nomad version of Captain America pretty much the day after Endgame ended, but he's kind of waiting around to see the right project and this and that. But again, see, it's a difficult situation because yeah, we're going to hold on to Chris Evans. They're not going to give him the Captain America suit back because they're still playing this politically correct game. Now, I think what my solution is, I think what's going to happen is when they go to Battle World in Secret Wars, I don't know if they can use the Beyonder or Doom or whoever it's going to be. They're going to give Captain America the classic suit, and they're going to be able to bypass that awkwardness of Sam giving Cap back the costume and the shield. They're going to just supply him with a new one, and then they're going to say, go out and battle or whatever, and that's how you'll get him back in the costume. It's not like there can't be more than one Captain America. A lot of jokes have been made that this movie is going to have like 5. We have, Sam Wilson, we have Bucky, we have Yelena, who is essentially a super soldier. You have Crimson Dynamo, who is like the Russian super soldier. You have John Walker, U.S. agent, and then we have Cap. We got like 6 Captain Americas in the movie as it is. I mean, what's the difference, But okay, we're coming up close against that 1 hour mark. I guess we will call a halt to the show. And again, well, I'm sure we'll have a lot more to talk about with Avengers Doomsday coming up. What do you think? What do you think about the fandom completely losing their mind over everything and completely whining and complaining about every single thing, and everything is woke and everything is not as good as the previous version and everything is a stunt or a gimmick? Or, I mean, that's another thing. It's like, I almost lost my cool today because on Twitter, people are still continually saying, well, this was a desperation move by Marvel. A desperation move. You trying to tell me you were more excited about seeing the 55th variant of Kang fighting Shang-Chi in the Kang Dynasty than you are seeing Thor fight Doom just because they didn't have a 3-picture build-up for Doom? I mean, you honestly telling me that? I mean, what was the build-up for Kang? We had Loki season 1, and then we had Ant-Man Quantumania, which was universally panned. I didn't think it was horrible. I actually liked it, but nobody liked it, apparently. Now, you wanted them to do an Avengers movie based on that buildup? Basically, we saw Kang die twice already. He died when Sylvie killed him. He was the one that remains or whatever in Loki 1. And then he dies in Ant-Man Quantumania. Ant-Man defeats him. So we've got Kang killed twice. And you really wanted to see that instead of Robert Downey Jr.'s Dr. Doom? I mean, please, don't insult my intelligence. This is where I say you're complaining just to complain. You're looking for attention at this point. I mean, come on. Everybody knows who Dr. Doom is. He doesn't need a huge introduction. People have seen the Tim Story films. Some people have seen the Josh Trank film. People know Dr. Doom from the cartoons. Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends even had Dr. Doom. We're not talking about a character like Kang, who kind of needed a build-up because nobody knows him. Thanos, nobody knew him outside of the comics fans. Like I said, the normies don't know those characters. Normies kind of know Dr. Doom. So again, this didn't need this huge buildup. So miss me with this, insulting my intelligence stuff. Again, before we leave, check out The Adventures of Bullets Bourbon Private Eye. Click the link in the description below. Please be generous and check out on Global Comics for the digital download, or you could check us out on Indie Planet. The second book in the arc, Gimme Shelter, hopefully will be out in the near future, sooner rather than later, I'm hoping. And then we're going to finally wrap it up with the Against All Odds final act, which is called, surprisingly, Against All Odds. So thank you for joining the show. I love you madly. And until next we meet, this is Johnny Torch reminding you once again, keep the flame burning brightly, and I'll be with you again real soon.